Hey everybody. Um, Today it seems like I have a little bit more of a lag than usual. I think it's about 9 to 10 seconds. I usually count when I pop up my little welcome screen and see how long it takes for me to get to you. So if you're asking questions in the chat, just give me a little bit of extra time, and I will see them and get to them. So welcome everybody. I am Romi Hill and I am the designer behind Designs by Romi. And today is, I think, episode 3 of my 2023 Special Skein Knit Along YouTube Lives. And I have a couple of um, specific questions to cover today. Plus, I have something to show you. I've been making progress on my own special skein. So last week, I ripped it out completely. I think some of you may have seen that in my Facebook group. I totally ripped it. And now, however, I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to show you that. And so nice to see everybody in the comments. I love seeing you all live here. So, Joy, I'm so glad you're here because I'm going to talk about picking out a cast on. And I know that was a big question from you. And then, yay. Hi, Becky. I'm so glad you made it. And Holly, so nice to see you all in there. So, first of all, my own special skein. So, this is where I am now. So, I actually got a bunch done, and I'll show you this up close. So, last week I was showing you some progress, and I ripped the whole thing, but this week, after I ripped it, I got back kind of on track and I'm pretty happy with it now. So the wedges start up at this corner over here. You can see all these markers on it. So that's where each wedge comes almost to the end, but not quite. And then I turn around. So this uses German short rows to do a wedge construction, and I'm kind of geeking out on this. So let me show you my hands so I can kind of show you exactly how this is constructed. Okay, I said I was kind of geeking out. I'm like really geeking out on it. So let me transition over. Okay, so for some reason, this color just makes my camera go completely woogie. So sorry about that. But anyway, so this is constructed in wedges, and the first wedge starts right at the end here. So you can see that's pretty short, that little tiny bit right there. That's the start of the first wedge. And this whole area, this whole thing is the cast on across the bottom here. And then it's worked back and forth. So the way that it is worked, you can see there's some open work in there along the way, and it creates kind of a zigzag pattern as you go back and forth with adding wedges. So here's the end of that first one. Here's the end of the second wedge right here. Here's the end of the third wedge. Here's the end of the fourth wedge. So I think you can kind of tell, like, this is the end of the wedge here where that open work kind of moves over a little bit and creates the zigzag. And as you go further, the zigzag gets a little bit like differently spaced as you go closer to the end here. So this is what the end looks like, and this is one wedge right here. So if you took a look at it, the wedge kind of runs like this, and it's just working back and forth. So this is the larger end here, and then you're going to build these. So it's going to end up being triangle, but it's just built a little bit differently. And it has some movement. And it's one of the things I try to do when I'm working with um, kind of a variegated yarn like this. And this is more of a tonal variegation. But when I'm working with a yarn like this, I try not to have it pool unless I really want to, unless I'm really going for assigned pooling. So this this little open work area breaks up that kind of solid part here, and then you get these kind of cool currents going through it with just little interspersed spaces here with really, it's a gorgeous yarn color. It's from Sweet Georgia again. So again, for those who didn't know, this is a 380 yard skein, and a wedge is about 9.5 grams. We'll see, like as I get farther along, I know I can for sure get 9 wedges out of this. And so right now I have one, two, three, I have 5 wedges right now. And you can see at the end here, so I've just cast on extra stitches here because each wedge is offset. And so that's what it looks like. You can see on the wedge here, this is the area where it all comes together. And then this little area right here is the cast on that you see up here. So that's going to kind of curve around right around here. So I think it's really fun. It's kind of this sort of like a geeky um, kind of thing for for those of you who are a little geeky like I am. So, MA, you said you want to know what the yarn is. It is Sweet Georgia um, Silk Fine, I think, Merino Silk Fine. I don't know if they have any on their site right now. I have to find out from them. I know they have a bunch of patterns for it, but I'm not sure if they have this stocked up right now. But I have seen it on other sites. So it is out there if you want this exact one. But other than that, it's just basically cut a sport weight yarn. So, anything that's around 385 yards is about the same weight as this. And you can use a fingering weight yarn as well. And the cool thing about this is because it's built in wedges, you can actually just keep adding wedges on. So this one is going to be 9 wedges. If I had a skein with more yarn to it, I could just keep adding on more wedges and more wedges. And they will fit in exactly the same. So, okay. So there you go. There's my geeking out on this. Anyway, so this is how much yarn I have left. I've used about half of it. I have my yarn is besmirched by a piece of fuzz. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to get this done and share it with you. And so, okay, moving on here. So we were talking about blocking globe mallow the other day on my Zoom. And there's some instructions in here that talk about how you're supposed to insert a wire through the edge and then pin it and then take the wire out. So I want to show you what I mean by that. And I'm just going to stick, this is obviously already blocked, but I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. So I like to use blocking wires. This is the type of blocking wire I use, and this is actually TIG welding rod. So it's 100% stainless steel, and that means it doesn't rust, and it's pretty inert. So even with naturally dyed yarns, I have not ever had any problems with spotting or anything like that from it. So I I highly recommend. You can get it at a um, just like a hardware store, or you can find it on Amazon as well. And I believe this is like a 14 gauge TIG welding rod. So that's TIG, TIG welding rod. And this one is 100% stainless steel. Instead of, it's not, it does not coated with stainless steel. It's not plated. It's 100%, which is nice. Okay, so I was talking first about, I'm just going to show you this edge first, and what I mean when I talk about weaving the blocking um, wire in and out of the edge. So I just weave it in and out like this. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of places, like it's fairly close together when you weave it in and out, because if you don't, you're going to create scallops. So you're going to really stretch this. So you want to make sure it's woven in and out all the way along. And the more times you weave it in and out, the better. So the fewer scallops you'll have. Okay, so I do have a little tiny reel of me blocking glow mallow on Instagram, but it goes by pretty fast. And I think you can see overall what it looks like when I have it laid out, but it's hard to see what I do with the edge. So here's what I am doing with the edge. So I'm going to pretend this is wet. And so this is what I was talking about earlier when I said to weave in and out. Okay, so once I've done that, so I've woven that in and out here. And so once it's pinned out, so you can see that doesn't look all that great. So I don't really like the way that is emphasizing that middle point there. So when I was writing up the instructions, that is why I said to take out the wire. So here's what I do. I have this all set up like this, and once it's all pinned out, I'm just going to take my T-pins here and go along. So just taking T-pins, and I'm pretending a little bit here because I don't have this as stretched as I usually do when I'm doing this. I stretch it really hard. Okay, so I have those worked out. And now I am going to come up here and I'm just gonna kind of grab those little bits right here, the little crochet chain scallops, and pin those out as well. So in this particular case, the um, the blocking wire is used more as a guide than anything else because it makes it much easier to get a really even block. So, okay. Okay, so I think that's pretty much pinned out the way that I want it. So you can see across here, I didn't pin these two out because it's nice and stretched across here. Okay, so once that's done, and we're still pretending this is wet, but I don't want to put anything wet up on my table here because like that's just asking for disaster. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'm just going to pull my blocking wire out. And once the blocking wire is pulled out, I don't need those pins anymore that were holding the wire specifically. And now I have something that's pretty even. I usually go along and I just kind of even stuff up and make sure that it's looking okay and everything is nice and even. And I have the same size on both sides. Let's see if I have any other questions in there. Okay. Okay, I think we're doing okay so far. So today is not going to be as long as usual because um, I don't have as many things to talk about. I did actually release a shawl today, and I don't have it though. It's at Knits and Knots Minden, which is a store in Minden, Nevada, and it's there for the Sierra Nevada yarn crawl. So I was there this morning, and if you are crawling this year, I will also be there tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, I will be there as well. And I'm not doing anything exciting. I'm just sort of um, helping people with their passports and stuff. Okie doke. Next up, um, Joy asked me about a cast on. So, Joy, you were saying before that your cast on is too tight and you just wanted to pick it out. So, so I am going to show you what it would look like if it's picked out. And then first I'm going to answer Marianne's question, can the square, a peony garden be blocked before the wings? I did actually write you back, Marianne, but I will say here, because I know everybody would probably like to know this, I would not suggest you do that. So peony garden is a little bit of an interesting um, setup here. So you have in the middle, you have something that's circular, and then it turns into a square. So after you have that circle, then um, extra increases are added to make this into a square shape like this. And then these two sides are bound off. And then you're going to work across the top here. And then after that, you work wings out. So Marianne's question is, can she block this center portion first before doing the wings? And I don't suggest doing that. And that is because when you start working this little area here with the wings, then part of this area here is going to kind of ease the square out. So, um, I mean, I guess what I could say is, yes, you could certainly do it. You're going to have to block it again afterwards, however. So, when you block it again, you're just going to wet the whole thing and have to block the whole thing over again anyway. So, whereas I'm not going to, like, nothing bad will happen to you if you block it, but it's kind of a waste of time. And because then you're waiting for it to dry and you've taken it off your needles and you pinned it out and everything. And then you're just going to have to wet the wings anyway because this little area here sort of eases, like the lace eases into the wings. So, so I guess in a nutshell, it won't harm anything, but it will kind of be a waste of time. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's see. So Holly, you were talking about tweed. You can actually order a kit online at Knits and Knots Mendon. So if you're interested, and they're really beautiful kits. So I have that link on Facebook and on Ravelry. And if you love tweed, then you'll love these kits because they're super gorgeous. And let's see. So, Marianne, will the weight of the wings help keep that square? Um, I'm not sure what you mean, but when you hang it, when it's hanging, yes, it looks like the back looks like a triangle. So, if that's what you mean, yeah. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is a knitted cast on, and this is similar to what you're going to have at the top of Globe Mallow. And I think that was the issue that, Joy, that you were having. So it's this little area up here. You were saying that it puckered. So I do want to say, even on my Globe Mallow, this is kind of tight, and that's okay because up here it eases out. So once it's blocked, you'll see it's just a little bit of a V. And once that's blocked, it probably won't pucker, but I will show you what happens when you pick out a cast on. Okay, so this is kind of a pain it's a little bit of a pain here. Okay, so here's my tail. And the thing about this is it's going to be fairly time consuming. And also, it's going to leave you with live stitches. So, one of the things you were asking about, Joy, was if you could just run a piece of yarn through that edge, and that would make it also pucker. So, okay, so let's just go along here. So this is going to be takes a little bit to get this going here. Okay. So here is going to be my first live stitch on the side. And now you can see along here as I'm picking this out, there aren't as many stitches in your cast on for Globe Mallow. So I'm just going to keep kind of picking this out. And you can see as it goes along here where the live stitches are. So here's a stitch here. So it's tedious, but at least there are only 11 of the stitches to pick out. But this is what it looks like as you pick it out. And as you pick it out, these are live stitches. So you can't just let these be. You have to do something with them because otherwise it will run, and you don't want that to happen. So if you do decide to pick this out, my suggestion is once it's picked out, that you bind it off. Okay, so here I've done 3 stitches, and you can just see those 3 stitches, and I'm just going to bind this off and show you what I would suggest you do if you do end up picking it out. So I would just go across and bind off like you normally would bind off across the top, just like just a normal everyday bind off. That's what it would look like that. So it's not nothing exciting really, but it really takes quite some time to get that out of there. So I I guess let's see. I'm gonna just start. I'm gonna start Glow Mellow at the top and show you how much mine puckers. So maybe you can kind of get more of an idea of and feel better about the way that yours puckers across the top. Because I think you may find that it's not as bad as you think. Oh, I'm so glad that, which color did you order, MA? Okay, so I'm just going to cast on my knitted cast on across here. Okay. I had to clear my throat there for a moment. I'm having the worst allergy attack. It waited until I went online, you know. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so here we have the 11 and ooh, green. That it is really yummy. It is my favorite green color. I'm kind of I'm wearing a color that's similar. Ah, that color would look so beautiful on you though. Okay. So the whole idea of this cast on is to make sure that you increase really quickly. Like it's a small cast on, and then you're increasing lots of stitches at first. So you may find that upon blocking, it really doesn't pucker like that, like you think it does. I'm just laughing at Emma. An ambulance stops for you. Uh, okay. So you would look amazing in the blue one, by the way. Okay. So here's just one row, but you can kind of see I increased a lot of stitches right away, and that's so it curves up. So the pattern actually is written so that this part will curve around like that. So it may not be as puckery as you think. That's what I'm hoping. Okay. Okay. And Joy, I'm really happy that you liked the yarn I sent. Definitely you should buy all three colors. Definitely. They're all gorgeous. So, I, oh, you should, if you guys follow me on Instagram, um, take a look on there and you can see the kits for the new shawl with on Knits and Knots Minden's. Um, let's see, she's got a link to it, I think, and I have a link to it in my stories, and I have a link to the kit on Facebook and Ravelry. And you can see all the different colors in there, and they're really beautiful up close, and they're beautiful in person. So they're dyed by Jay Gerbel of Archaic Fibers. He is a local dyer. And there's one tweed skein, and then there's one yak and merino nylon sock. and they're all really beautiful, especially because the yak, it has a little bit of the natural kind of fawn color, and it's over dyed, so it's a little grayed out, like kind of taupey colored. So, okay. So, like I was saying, not a super long one today. Um, that was pretty much the questions that I got. And so, yeah, those are the questions I got. Um, do you guys have any other questions while you have me here? And I'm just going to sort of blather along, and you can, think about anything else that you might want to ask me. I'm watching here. Thank you, Terry, for linking. Okay, so Marianne asks, when beading any shawl, I notice some beads lay perfectly even and others look like they're on the stitch wrong. So, I don't know how you're beading, but so the way that I use beads in my shawls, I have you bead over both legs of a stitch. So, um, let me see, let's transition back over here. Okay, I'm just going to take this out and show you. Okay, so when I have you bead something in one of my shawls, I'm having you place a bead right over both legs of a stitch. Not everybody has you bead in this way, and I think that can be that can make a big difference. If you pre-string beads, they're going to lay a different way. So when when you have a bead like this, so you're going to have your stitch. Here's your knit stitch, and then your bead is going to be on your stitch like this. So here's the hole up around there, and that's your bead. So it's going to be set squarely over that stitch, and you'll be able to see the bead on both sides. If you pre-string, here's your stitch, and your bead is going to be on one leg of the stitch because it's pre-strung just over one strand of yarn. So sometimes you're going to get it on the stitch where it will look really good. And sometimes, depending on the type of stitch that you are working, it will look kind of funky just because the way that the yarn, so if you have a slanting stitch, for instance, and you have pre-strung your beads will slant a little bit. And you may not be able to see this bead on both sides equally. So that's one of the reasons, particular on a shawl, I like to string my beads, or I like to not string my beads. Sorry, I do not like to pre-string. I always put them over both legs. And then, okay, so, and then you said, thanks, I always hook in with a crochet hook. Um, Another thing that may be is that you're placing the bead at the wrong place. I don't know exactly where you're placing beads. Try to place at a point. So like an SK2P or a CDD or something like that, where you have stitches like the motif is coming to a point, and then you can put your bead up at the top of the point. So anytime that you're beading on stitches that are going like slanting sideways, you have the possibility that they're going to look a little wonky. Technical term, haha. No one wants a wonky bead. So the other thing you want to make sure is that when you do this, if you're going to place your bead on top of a double decrease like this, you need to have worked that double decrease first before you place the bead. If you place it before you work the double decrease, then you're going to get something that looks like this on the side. you'll just get one that kind of is on the side. It's not nice and centered on the top. So hopefully, I don't know. So Sharon asks, then after you place the bead, do you knit that stitch or no? So if you are on the right side and you're going along, you're doing your stitches, you're going to place the bead after you do the stitch. So say you want to do an SK2P, so here's your SK2P. After that stitch comes to the point, that's when you're going to place the bead. And then you're not going to do anything else to that stitch. So the stitch was worked, the bead is placed on top of it. If you do your beads on the resting side, you are going to place the bead before you do the stitch because you want it right at the top point of that stitch. So if I were on the wrong side, it's going to look exactly the same. So some people just like to place on the right side, and then on the wrong side, you have some time to rest. So either way, on the right side, do the stitch first. If you're placing on the wrong side, do the stitch after. So hopefully, yeah. Okay, so Marianne was saying it's offset. Yeah, that's probably what's happening is that you are placing a bead before you do a decrease stitch. And Robin says, I use dental floss for braces to do beading. Yes, oh, so good. So, like super floss. Oh, here, I'm gonna scoot down here and pick up my box. This is my fave. My favorite floss for beading. It's really good, and you can use this to bead. I have a little tutorial on this too, and I agree with Robin. It's great. Okay. Alrighty. So Sharon says, I'm working my very first pattern using beads. So I was curious how to add beads to your patterns. So it's pretty much wherever you want your beads to go. Think about the motif and where it would look good. I personally like to put stuff at the top, right at the point up here. So that's a really good place to put it. Sometimes I'll have a motif that has like several SK2Ps up to in a leaf. You could put extra beads in there. I tend to stay away from beading things when a stitch is going to the left or the right. I don't usually place beads along there because then they're going to look a little bit off. And it's just my personal preference. You may feel differently. I like my beads to be straight up and down. So, okay, let's see. Any other questions? Alrighty. So let me transition back here. Okie doke. So, like I said, a little bit shorter today. I'm gonna go have an allergy attack. And if you have any other questions that you want me to answer or anything like that, just let me know, and I can do some extra little tutorials or something like that. And I can also talk about it on my next live. And Marianne said, does beading through the back loop change it? I have not found that it does. Um, I haven't found that knitting a stitch twisted versus straight does much anything at all. It's hard to tell even sometimes because the whole stitch is kind of hidden the um, underneath the bead. So it's really hard even to tell a lot of the times if the stitch is twisted or not. So, okay. So, okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're going to be crawling in the Sierra Nevada yarn crawl, I will be at Knits and Knots Minden Friday, which is tomorrow, the 22nd of September, 2023. And I'll be there from 2 to 6. And then I'll also be there on Sunday at, I think, 1 to 5. At any rate, if you're in the area, stop by and say hi. I'm not doing anything exciting. I'm just sort of, saying hello and stamping people's passports. So, yeah, thank you all so much for joining me. And I hope to see you soon around social media. And I will show you more progress on my shawl next time. So, take care, everybody, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.